came to a village where a woman named Martha opened her home to him. She had a sister called Mary who sat at the Lord's feet listening to what he said.
Yes.
But Martha was distracted by all the preparation that had to be made. You know, we got some Martha. She came to him and asked, Lord, don't you care that my sister had left me to do the work by myself? Tell her to help me. Martha, Martha, the Lord said, you are worried and upset about many things, but only one thing is needed. Mary has chosen what is better, and it will not be taken away from her. What the theologians say about this family that you might think has a little dysfunctionality is that it became a regular, this house, haven for Jesus anytime he was in the vicinity of Jerusalem. He went and visited this family. We next see this family again in John 11, where we're at today, at a time of crisis in their household. Now a man named Lazarus was sick. He was from Bethany, the village of Mary and her sister Martha. So the sisters sent word to Jesus, the Lord, the one you love, is sick. When he heard this, Jesus said, the sickness will not end in death. No, it is for God's glory, so that God's Son may be glorified. Jesus loved Martha and her sister Mary and Lazarus, yet when he heard that Lazarus was sick, he stayed where he was for 2 more days.
Yes, he did.
On his arrival, Jesus found that Lazarus had already been in the tomb for 4 days. Martha was the first to greet Jesus and speak with him, but interestingly enough, the statement of Martha and Mary seemed like they were the same. They said, Lord. He whom you love is ill. I'm sure they thought that their friend had the power to heal. And they believed that he would heal Lazarus no matter how sick he was. They knew that Jesus would come. I imagine they were surprised when the messenger returned and reported what Jesus had said, that this illness does not lead to death. Rather, it's for God's glory. So that the Son of God may be glorified through it. They must have wondered, what is he talking about? What kind of answer is that? What does it mean? They knew Jesus could heal with a touch, with a word from a distance. They expected their brother to get well, but shortly after Jesus answered arrived, their brother died. They got Jesus' answer, and then Lazarus was dead. And Jesus didn't arrive in time to help them. When he showed up, both women said to him, Lord, if you had been there, if you had come,
Just come.
our brother wouldn't have died. Knowing that Jesus loved this family, we would have expected him to set out immediately for Bethany to spare their anxiety and their grief. One side point I want to make is this. Love sometimes permits pain.
All right.
Love sometimes permits pain. You see, Jesus did not respond according to Mary and Martha's plan. They were looking for Jesus. Where is he? Where's Jesus? We said the word, where is Jesus? If Jesus had rushed off to Bethany as soon as he received the word of Lazarus' illness, Martha and Mary would have not been suspended between hope and despair. Hope that Jesus could help their brother. If he just only showed up, and despair that maybe he might come too late. They would have been spared the anguish of watching Lazarus die. They would have avoided the agony for those last moments when they had to close his eyes and prepare his body for burial. They would have forestalled the desolation of bereavement. But Jesus didn't come. Where is Jesus?
Where is he?
There's some things God is trying to tell us in this scripture. and God's plan might be different.
Yeah.
Jesus revealed his plan. He told the disciples what his plan was. Jesus knew that if he intervened too quickly, Mary, Martha, and his disciples would not learn what they needed to understand. This chapter tells us how completely in control Jesus was of this whole situation. He had a different plan. John in verse 11 says he told the disciples he was going to wake up Lazarus. But the disciples thought he meant Lazarus was resting from his illness because death was commonly referred to as sleeping. But then in John 14, Jesus clarifies that he was trying to say, to make sure they understood. He plainly told them that Lazarus was dead. So your plans and God's plans might be different. My second point is in John 11:15. Jesus said he was glad that what he would do would help mature the disciples spiritually. He was glad. You see, Jesus' plan is for us to mature spiritually. The Bible says the disciples did not want to go back to Judea. They said a short time ago the Jews tried to stone you, Jesus, and yet you're going back there. They were worried about being killed. They thought, okay, we'll die with him. That's what he wants to do. We'll go with him and we'll die with him there too. They didn't understand God's plan. I imagine another question that the disciples must have had is, what is Jesus doing? What is he doing?
Yes.
He's going back there, number one. And number two, he seems to be waiting for Lazarus to die. But in reality, in John 17, it says Lazarus actually died the day Jesus was coming.
Yes.
Jesus knew that, the disciples didn't. On his arrival, Jesus finds Lazarus had been in the tombs for 4 days. You see, during this time, burial followed death as soon as possible because of the warm climate. The body would decay. So they had already had the funeral. The women had anointed the body with the finest spices and ointment. They had wrapped the body in linen cloth.
Yes.
Everyone that could possibly get there for the funeral was there. And they were led by these mourning women.
Yes.
Memorial speeches were made at the tomb. That was a tradition in that time. And after the mourners would form two lines where the mourner and family would then walk.
Tell it, brother. Tell it. Teach it, brother. God bless you.
And they would tell, the mourners would tell the family, depart in peace.
God bless you.
No idle and uninvited talk was there. They just left the mourners in their sorrow.
Yes.
And after returning from the tomb, when they got back to the house, friends of the family would serve a meal of bread and eggs and lentils. The tradition was 7 days of deep mourning.
Yes.
The first 3 days you were allowed to cry.
Yes.
You can cry. That was your deepest mourning. And then the other 7 days.
Teach it.
And then you had 30 days after that of lighter mourning.
God bless you.
Friends and relatives would visit family during the morning to express sympathy. Somebody know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But in the middle of this deep mourning, Martha hears that Jesus has come. Jesus is here. And violating the tradition, she went out to meet him while Mary stayed in the house. And then she showed both her disappointment and her faith in Jesus. You see, she's upset because Jesus let Lazarus die. But she knew he somehow made things better. So Martha says, Lord, if you had been here, if you had been here, my brother would not have died.